Before we begin the episode, as a reminder, if you'd like to be featured in our Messages in a Bottle segment at the end of an episode, please reach out to us at losttogetherpodcast@gmail.com or any of the comment sections anywhere that we are interacting on Facebook.
We're live.
Welcome to the Lost Together podcast. I'm Joe, and this is my attempt to convince my wife, Morgan, that Lost is one of the greatest shows ever produced, acted in, and which dazzled viewers for 6 amazing seasons. Tonight we review Season 1, Episode 6, House of the Rising Sun, pun intended there, which originally aired on October 27th, 2004. So we are, well and truly into it now. So, 6 full episodes, which is 5, I guess 4, unless I count the pilot as one whole episode, but
Yeah.
we'll do 5 past because it's broken into 2 here. So 5 episodes past where you originally got on your first watch. So
Yeah. My first couple of watches.
yeah, first couple of watches. So a little pitter patter. What'd you think? House of the
good.
Rising Sun.
It was good. It was good. Like I've said before, I know that it's important for the context and whatever, but I'm sick of all this backstory. Just what the hell is going on this island? I want to be on the island figuring out what the fuck is going on, not all this backstory exposition BS.
Well, that is 50% of the show.
Yeah.
Adjust.
Okay, well,
So, so House of the Rising Sun is a flashback episode centered around Sun and Jin, the Korean couple who were, as you keep calling him, Jesus in earlier parts of this episode.
You are the reason I call him Jesus, because you said he was a Christ character,
Yeah,
and I
Christ-
said,
Christ figure.
like Jesus, and you said, yeah.
Yeah, the literary trope, Christ figure. Yeah,
Sure.
not the biblical character.
Lucky for you, I am ignorant when it comes to literary tropes, so I don't know what the Christ figure is supposed to be other than a savior of some sort.
Yeah,
And to this point, Jen has been a big old asshole.
that would be self-sacrificing. That is what a Christ figure is in literature. So.
Okay.
This episode has got a couple of big storylines in it, kind of the beginning of a couple of major turning points in the show. It doesn't really spoil anything because I think for the first time, you see a rift on the island between 2 fan favorite characters. Mm-hmm. And those 2 characters are?
Saeed and Jack.
Yeah, I actually was going for Jack and Kate there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's funny because in the last episode, we had a really long back and forth about the lack of awareness, in my opinion, on Locke's part. So in this episode, it's Jack who lacks some awareness. It's pretty evident early on. We'll get into the recap in a second, but I just thought it was funny that we had a very long digression in the last episode where we're talking about awareness. And then in this episode, Jack is just wholly unaware of what he's suggesting everybody do by moving them to the cave.
Yeah, but he's hell-bent on surviving, not, I guess, he doesn't understand that it's like submission. You're just like, you've accepted that nobody's coming and you have to like build a life on this fucking island.
Yeah, and Jack is not in tune with what things symbolically are.
Weird. He had such an attentive dad who taught him lots of really important lessons about, how people feel.
Very loving father figure, Dr. Shepard. Mm-hmm. So before we get too far into it and hitting the themes, let's go ahead and get Morgan's recap of the episode.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was kind of just along for the ride yesterday. I think that probably the recording, you'll be able to hear that in the recording. I just was kind of flitting through things. Did not take notes. So this is off the dome.
I think it's better that way.
Maybe
Yeah.
so. I kind of wanted to try it out.
Let's try it out.
But, my memory sucks ass.
Yeah, that's a fun fact for everybody listening.
I barely remember. I remember the Jin and Sun story, kind of. But
So of the people that I know who are under the age of 80, Morgan has by far the worst memory. And I mean,
it's bad. It's really bad.
Well, your mom's is pretty bad too.
It is. Yeah. She's got that ADHD lady brain.
Yeah. I'm not sure that that's exactly what's going on for you. I think it's just like your memory's been bad. I mean,
always,
which is fine and kind of entertaining sometimes, but it does mean that I have to give her bad news multiple times sometimes.
Yeah, but you get to give me good news multiple times.
Exactly. It's a balance.
Such is life.
Fully.
So the episode, if I remember correctly, it is Sun opening her eyes. Yeah, Sun's opening her eyes, whatever. Don't really... they're on the beach. Don't remember, honestly, what the hell's going on. They're in a fight. It's shitty. And then we flash back to Korea, and Sun has obviously come from an affluent family. And she's like at a party. She's in a beautiful ball gown. It's obviously in, a fancy place. And Jen is a damn server. Mm-hmm. A server. And she, they're catching eyes across the room.
Just to point this out real quick. So Jen, a servant. Okay. So I'm going to guide you through the Christ figure thing.
I mean that when you're looking at Jen and Sun, she's at the top, he's at the bottom. It's a Romeo
Socially.
and Juliet. Yeah. Like, forbidden love situation.
Yeah, I think it's more, to me, it gives me like Aladdin vibes instead of Romeo and Juliet. Cause,
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
That's a better metaphor.
That's kind of how I've always thought about the Jen and Sun thing. Is it's like
sure,
it's closer to Aladdin, but with violence. So
that leads me to believe that maybe Jen is like a super good dude because so far he's an asshole. He's not a nice man.
Well, if you think about it, in Aladdin, he's not super awesome either. Because
yes, he is.
Aladdin does everything he can to lie about who he is. He promises the genie that he's going to let him go. In the middle of the movie, he's like, "Oh, well, I can't do that because I got to do all this stuff to get this girl's attention."
He did, though.
Yeah, but in the middle of the movie, in the middle of it, so in the middle of before things get resolved, he isn't. There is a definitive part of Aladdin who I love. It's probably one of my favorite Disney movies.
It's a good one.
Right? Aladdin is not a great dude for part of that movie because he's just blinded by trying to be with Jasmine. Like he just...
Yeah, but it's more than that. It's more than just he's wanting to get laid.
Well, I didn't say that, though. I'm talking about he feels that he's in love with her. So, like,
yeah,
and it's self-esteem issue. Like
that's what I'm getting at. It's not that he just wants to get laid and he's worried that, like, Jasmine won't want to be with a peasant. It's like he in himself believes that he's more than a peasant, but nobody can see that because he's a peasant. And so when he gets to be Prince Ali, he gets to be on the outside. He's perceived how he feels the caliber of human being that he is on the inside, which is a good, nice, sweet boy. So, you've given me some context on Jen here that I still think he's an asshole after that whole episode. And I think Sun's an idiot too.
Yeah, it's not a perfect parallel. I'm just saying
sure.
it's more Aladdin than Romeo and Juliet.
Sure, yeah. I just meant forbidden love.
Yeah.
But
Korean Aladdin, get after
Korean Aladdin. So, they're at the party. They sneak off, and he's like, your dad will never allow this. Like, I'm whatever. And Sun is like, okay, we'll convince him. And then, like, suddenly they're in an apartment, a very nice apartment with hired help. And Jen comes running through the door and he's covered in blood. And she's like, what the hell? Or what happened? And he said, I did what I had to do. And she's all freaked out. And then we're back on the beach and Jen is whooping ass over a watch.
Yeah, Michael.
Yes, he beats his whole ass. And Michael's minding his own business with Walt in the water. They're chilling. And Jen comes out of nowhere and beats his whole ass. And then Saeed is like, handcuffs him to the wreckage. And they're like vigilante style dealing with that because they have to build a whole ass civilization now and there's no jail to put him in. There's no judge and jury. So they're like, put him out there, whatever. And then we find out that the watch belonged to Sun's dad. Mm-hmm. And you told me that Son's dad is like in the mafia.
I think you missed a whole part of the episode. I think you must have. You must have like not been paying attention because, Jen, and Son wants to just run away.
Yeah, no, I haven't got there yet. Yeah,
Right.
I have.
Yeah.
I've not got there yet.
Yeah. So Son's dad. I mean, with context clues, Jen is working for Son's dad. Okay.
As a server, I mean.
No, working for Son's dad.
Oh, with the blood, yeah.
Yeah. He
I
says, I do what your father tells me to. Now, you tell me.
That's what he said,
What
yeah.
kind of work do you do where your boss tells you to beat somebody to a bloody pulp?
Sure.
He's a gangster.
Okay.
So, nobody pops up and says, Son's dad is a gangster, right? But there are many clues.
I will tell you that I did not immediately pick up on the fact that Son's dad is a gangster. Yeah. I didn't. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
He's covered in blood.
I guess it's like the point of that is like, what other job could Jen possibly have?
Maybe he's a damn doctor.
He was a server 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, listen, I did
just
service
saying.
work for years, right? But it didn't.
You never got cut in the kitchen?
It did not prepare me for med school. I will tell you, it did not prepare me for med school.
Okay. Anyway, so there's all that, and then Son is talking to a lady, and the lady's like, listen, we got it all worked out. You're going to be in line for the plane, and then at 11:15, you're going to go to the bathroom or whatever, and then you're going to leave. And we've got a whole life made for you, a fake name, everything. You just go. So they're standing in line at the terminal. We see Jack flipping out on the flight attendant lady, or not flight attendant, the clerk. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I have to bury my father. So it's all the pieces are coming together here. She looks up at the clock. It's 11:15. And then I don't remember. There was an inciting incident that I can't recall. But she ends up staying with Jen. He like smiles at her. The flower.
Yeah, he had a flower.
He had a flower. Yeah.
Yeah, and also she was coached by somebody to help get her out of Korea by teaching her English. And they.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Who does she find? Is it Michael? Again, maybe I'm just like so bad at picking up on hidden context clues, but I didn't realize that she had been learning English to elope from Korea.
Yeah.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, because she got to be able to function in an English-speaking country.
Sure.
Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, she tells Michael, like, hey, my husband doesn't know I can speak English. Like, really sorry about what went down on the beach, but that was my dad's watch, and it's a matter of honor and all that. So.
Yeah. And of her daddy not whooping Jen's ass if he shows up and finds out that his watch is gone and his daughter is in trouble or something. So.
Yeah, which I thought, like, how stupid are you? How completely deranged is your dad that there's been a fucking plane crash and you've been gone 6 to 7 days, and if they were to miraculously be saved, he's really going to be like, where's my fucking watch, Jen?
Maybe to Jen, not probably to his daughter, but to Jen, sure.
Why?
Because he's a gangster. Have you ever watched a mob movie? They're not awesome. They're not hanging out with you like your dad or your papa or something. Like, he is a gangster and got everything that he ever had through violence and intimidation. So if he trusts you with a $20,000 watch and you lose it, that's a problem. Like,
oh yeah, sorry, Dad, I lost it in the fucking plane crash.
Yeah, it's not
on the Magic Island.
Yeah, I don't know how to like relate to you that like mob bosses are not known for being reasonable and caring.
Well, yeah, no, I know that. I thought that was weird. That was a weird writing moment. Like, here's how big of a bitch badass dude my dad is, that he's gonna kick Jen's ass for losing a watch.
But she doesn't say that though. She says honor, right? Like, it's a matter of honor.
Right. And honor is important to Asian countries. Like, they're all about honor. And
well, we'll come back. We'll come back to that. I got some info on the episode for you.
Okay.
Keep going.
So all that's going down. you know, I've said previously that I've noticed, I mean, if looks could kill, based on previous episodes, Jen would have died before they got on the plane, because son is hating his ass. Every time she looks at him, she's like, I wish you would die. Hate you, hate you, hate you. But she decided to stay with him in Australia because you...
Why do you think she hates him?
Because he's a dick.
Was he a dick?
Controlling.
Was he a dick and controlling in Korea?
When he was a server? No, I guess not.
Was he a dick and controlling after he was a server?
I don't know. We only saw him when he was covered in blood, and he's like, I do what your daddy said.
Exactly, right? She was trying to run away before with Jen. Okay? Remember in the beginning, she was like, let's run away together. Who's she running from?
Well, I thought it was like, my dad won't approve because you're a servant and we're affluent, and so we have to get out or whatever.
But so who's she running from then?
Her daddy.
Her daddy, right? So she's trying to run from her dad. Mm-hmm. Now she hates Jen. Mm-hmm. Why?
Is he the new mob boss?
Because he's becoming like her dad.
Sure, okay.
So he was like a nice server,
now he's
like a sweetheart.
Butthole.
And then he shows up with blood all over him. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, he's becoming like her dad. So she's trying to run from him too. But then the flower thing happens.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, there's my boy.
Not like my dad.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it's confusing, you know. And the other thing is, it's super easy to watch those situations and feel like she definitely should have run, you know. But, I mean, we all know that in those situations, it's not that easy.
Of course not.
You know, it's...
Of course not. And I mean, it's complicated for her. Like, she has to do a whole new life, like literally witness protection style, you know.
Yeah. And there's no guarantee that she gets away with it. So, like...
Yeah.
Her dad's a mob boss. So...
Or some... you
don't think he could find her? Like, he probably does it pretty routinely, if I had to guess. So, yeah.
So that's the deal with them. And then back on the island, we got Jack, who has, you know, when he found what we are led to believe is his dad's coffin that's empty, he finds the plane crash. Mummified bodies?
Yep.
Did I dream that? Okay. And they've been there for like a long ass time.
A very long time.
Yeah, but they are like wet.
Do you remember what they call them?
No.
Adam and Eve.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and Kate says, I don't want to be Eve. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. So they, you know, he's like, hey, I found a place that is sheltered with unlimited fresh water. We should go there because there's nothing to eat out here on the beach. We're all getting sunburned. There's no fresh water. You're led to believe that, like, you know, it's a trek out there to wherever the hell Jack's at. But it can't be that far. Like, and I said this last night. Why are they not doing shifts where, you know, somebody stays out on the beach, a couple people stay out on the beach to keep watch for planes and boats and whatever, and then everybody else is in the comfortable water place? Like, what the hell?
Well, because it probably feels a little bit like, you know, a half measure in both directions. So
I don't think so.
Well, if you are Jack, I mean, I know this is hard because you don't think like Jack, but like, if you think there ain't a chance we're getting rescued, this is over. Like, we're 1,000 miles off course. This ain't we're not getting rescued.
Yeah, and then you find the mummified bodies that nobody found or whatever, and you're like, shit, yeah,
we're hosed. Like, we're done, right? Mm-hmm. So what sense would you see in, like, using resources and time to build fires on the beach every night?
Resources? Hell, I mean, there's 500,000 trees.
Yeah, but you could also use that time and people to get food. Like, go out and gather food and build better shelters. Like, start a little civilization there, you know? Like, as Saeed said, you know, were you going to consult us before you decided to start a civilization? I'm just saying, from Jack's perspective, which I'm not saying is right, but I am saying that he would not see the point in sitting somebody on the beach for hours and hours.
Yeah. Just take a pause. Has it always had 2 different times?
Yes.
Okay. 24 and 21?
One is this time, and then the other's all time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saeed and some of the crew are not ready to just straight give up and go build a new civilization or whatever they're like. No. And Kate is one of those that is not ready to give up on, getting rescued. So, and then she said, I don't want to be Eve.
I don't think that's what's going on with Kate.
Why?
Well, it's not that she's not ready to give up. All right. Mm-hmm. So what's the thing with Kate? What does she do?
Runs. I mean, she hides.
So what's the opposite of running?
Staying put.
Yeah, settling
Weird
in.
time. You picked a weird time.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to settle in.
Yeah.
Like, it feels domestic. She doesn't want to settle in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, like, she's trying to give herself a chance to escape, which is why she's on the beach.
Okay.
It's not necessarily that she thinks the chances of escape are great, I don't think. It's just that the other thing is like the island equivalent of like a house with a picket fence and a couple of kids or whatever.
Sure.
So
sure.
She ain't trying to settle in and be Mrs. Shepherd,
Which, yeah, I mean, I thought of it more of like you're just resigning yourself to the fact that you're never getting off this island. Like, you're not getting rescued. You know that and you understand that, and here we are.
Now, I think that's Saeed's thing. Like, I think Saeed is like,
yeah, I mean, he said that pretty directly.
Yeah. But I don't think that's Kate's thing.
Okay, astute.
So, just because Kate's character thing is Kate runs.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because you know that. This is not a huge spoiler at all. I think everybody would be okay with this. There's literally an episode at some point in the series called What Kate Does. And that's literally the name of the episode. And it's just about running. Like running away from stuff. What Kate does.
Okay.
So, yeah. So Kate is not trying to like settle in. And the way that she chose to say that was, I don't want to be Eve. Mm-hmm. Instead of, I don't want to live in the caves. She said, I don't want to be Eve. The writers of the show could have had her say that any way at all. Mm-hmm. But instead, they told her they had her say, I don't want to be Eve. Mm-hmm. So she's just not trying to settle in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's your recap.
Yeah. So, quick question. What happened with Charlie and Locke and the bees? Remember?
Yes. So, I don't remember why they were out there, but Charlie, they're walking around. Charlie steps on a beehive, like an underground beehive. And he's like, is he terrified of bees or he's deathly allergic to bees?
He's just terrified.
Okay. And Locke's like, don't move, don't move, don't move. And Charlie is freaking the fuck out because he's scared of bees. So, like, right before Locke is about to help him, Charlie freaks out, steps on the hive, breaks it open. Bees are everywhere.
They all get stung.
Yeah. Everybody's getting their ass whooped by the bees.
And then what happens after that with Charlie and Locke?
I don't remember.
With the heroin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Locke is like, hey, I know you got drugs, and you're going to run out eventually. So just give them up. Give them to me. We're done. And Charlie's like, well, I can't do that. And then Locke is like, you need to find something else. Don't you miss playing your guitar? And then Charlie's like, oh, my guitar is like long gone. And Locke goes, look up. And there's the damn guitar.
Up on the tree.
Yeah, on the side of the cliff, miraculously, the guitar.
Yeah, very Locke thing.
Yeah. So Charlie gets his guitar back. He gives up the drugs. He's got his outlet. And I think he says, like, I love music more than my own life or whatever. Like, he really is passionate about the music. Yeah. So it's hopeful. It's a hopeful situation. And Locke walked him right up to it.
You also... another quick question. What ends up happening with Michael and Jen? Like, how does that come to be resolved? Because right now, Jen is handcuffed to a fuselage piece. Mm-hmm. So how do they get past it? What does Michael do?
Doesn't he say, like, hey, we're good?
he cuts him free with an axe.
Yeah.
But it's like violent. So he's
it's
he's like,
threatening.
I'm having a bad time. Like, I'm trying to connect with my son. I'm stranded on this stupid island, and I lost my watch. I found this watch. I was like, I don't want to let a watch go to waste. And he's just rambling, even though Jen does not speak English.
Yeah.
So, and then Jen is like, scared to death the whole time. And then he moves, in time for Michael to swing an axe and cut him free.
Yeah. Michael's like, we're good. This is done. We're good.
But stay away from me and my son.
Yes.
So he's like, so that's important. Like,
yeah. That's how dudes handle problems a lot of times. Like, you got to puff up your chest and be, all like, I'll mess you up or whatever, but we're good.
So the thing that's actually a pretty important scene for future episodes. So Michael and Jen sorting it out in the way that they sort it out is important for the series. So
it was diplomatic, and I think Michael is kind of just at his wit's end a little bit, and he's like, this whole thing sucks. Everybody here is having a hard time.
There was a moment in the episode too that it was a throwaway moment, so it's not surprising not to mention it, but Michael and Walt get into it a little bit, and Walt's asking Michael, like, what did you do to make him do that? And he's like, I didn't do anything. You haven't seen me do anything to anybody. So why are you, like, what kind of man do you think I am? And then he goes, what was your mother saying about me? Like, first of all, F minus dad stuff, right? Don't get into, like, because for anybody that doesn't know, like, I am divorced from my oldest two kids' mother. And that's just a thing you don't do. Like, you don't go to the kids and ask them, like, what's your mom say about me? It's just bad news bears. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so he asked that, and Walt said, she
didn't talk about you.
She didn't talk about you. And then, so then, of course, you look like even more of a dickhead because you just assumed she was saying bad stuff. She wasn't saying anything. And then Michael says, you don't know anything about me. And Walt says, you don't know anything about me.
Yeah.
And then he goes, when's my birthday? And Michael says August 24th. So
when's my birthday?
Yeah.
And then Walt's like, I have no idea.
Right. He said, when's my birthday? Which is a dick thing because he's a kid.
Right. It's not his fault. It's not Walt's fault.
Right. But then Michael immediately regrets that. You can tell he does.
Yeah.
And then later in the episode, Walt asks Michael what his birthday is after everything's good, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, me too.
Like, that's a good moment.
Me too.
Obviously, I'm sensitive to the father-son dynamics on the show, or father-child. I don't have sons.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things about this episode. So, I wanted to give you a little bit of background and then ask some questions because I was doing some research on the episode. The actress who plays Son, her name is Yoon-Jin Kim, and Daniel Day Kim, no relation, I don't think, they play Son and Jin respectively. And they were really concerned when they took their roles on the show that it would enforce some negative stereotypes, like negative Asian / Korean stereotypes.
Yeah, and I thought that. I have thought that watching the show. Like, Jen, I remember Son, her one button was undone, and Jen's like, cover up. I guess that's what he's saying, and she fucking has to button her shit back up, and then he's like, you're filthy, and go wash up, and, like, the hateful man and the submissive, scared woman.
So they were concerned about this series as a whole would foster, like, negative opinions about and stereotypes about Asians and Koreans. Oh, okay. So they specifically went to the producers and asked them to do something about it, and the result of that was this episode.
The one we just watched?
So I think, too, in the context of the episodes we've seen so far, one of the downsides of Walkabout being such a great episode is that it kind of dwarfs the next couple of episodes after it. So, like, it makes some of the things that you see a little bit forgettable because Walkabout is so good.
Yeah, my literal jaw was open during Walkabout, and there was nothing about the Jen episode and Son episode that I was like, oh, shit.
Well, and Locke they're all main characters, but there's a couple of, like, main characters.
Jack, Saeed, Kate, Locke,
Sawyer.
I feel bad for Sawyer.
The others are like, just wait till you get the Sawyer episode.
I feel like that one's gonna hurt my feelings.
If it doesn't hurt your feelings, you don't have feelings. So yeah, they all have sad stories, obviously. Otherwise, like, What are we doing here? It's
Yeah.
obvious they've all got some sad stories, right? I
Sure.
don't think that's breaking any news to you. But this was the result of that. So they worried because they felt like most of America was not exposed to Korean culture at all. So
Yeah,
that they
and
would
that's
just
accurate, I'd say.
they would just make assumptions about Korean culture. So they made this episode. 16.83 million people watched this episode when it premiered.
What's the average?
Well, it has been lower and higher than that. I have to go back and look. So you've caught me flat-footed here, so I don't have that number, but I'll get it for next time to try to get an average number. The ratings earned a share of 6.4 out of 17, a slight increase from the previous episode. So slightly more than White Rabbit.
Okay.
So that's just a little interesting piece there. But so we pretty much know what we think about Sun and Jin, but I want to talk a little bit about the situation with Jack and his feeling that let's just move to the cave. So he comes to that revelation on his own inside the cave, fresh water, and he expresses it to Kate in a way that I can say, as a married couple, and you know this, I know this, we've both done it. Sometimes you say something that you think is a good idea. Like and you've got, no part of you thinks, oh, Joe will also think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Or I'll go, yep, we're going to like this. And then the other person just doesn't.
Yep.
At all.
Yep.
And that was the whole vibe. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Jack was like, oh, this is a great idea. Like, why are we doing all this, like, carrying water back to...
Right.
Let's just move here. Yeah, it's great. And he was just not at all picking up what Kate was clearly putting down in her body language. I mean...
Yeah, she was absolutely not trying to do all that.
No, and it was in the middle of, like... So she, like, kind of tried to drop it. They walked away. She tried to flirt with him. Like, she asked him if he was checking her out. And he was like, if I was checking you out, you'd know it. I don't know what that means. But then when she was like, okay, well, what were you doing? You know, just being flirty. And then he brings back, he's like, oh, just thinking about moving back to the caves, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, read the room. Like, I mean,
he is just a pragmatic dude. I mean, he is not trying to talk about feelings. He's not, he's A and B and C and D, and
Yeah.
that's his thing.
Absolutely. And so to him, this is really straightforward. And then
Makes perfect sense, logical. Like, why the hell would anybody think that's a bad idea? That's what he's thinking.
so then they get with Saeed next, who is not nearly as tactful as Kate is.
No, yeah, he's like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm not ready to give up.
But something I wanted to ask you about Saeed too, because in that conversation, before Jack can launch into like, let's move to the caves, the first thing that Saeed starts talking about is the situation between Jen and Michael. Okay, so, and Saeed was the one that handcuffed Jen to the fuselage. So Jack's like, what are we going to do about it? And Saeed says, I'm going to get the wife separated from the husband, and then I'm going to ask her, I think she knows what's going on, and she'll crack. Something like that. He uses some kind of language like that. Now,
Yeah.
foreshadowing here, I think. So, do you think anything about that when he said that?
He was in the Iraqi military, so I assume.
It's ostensibly a communications officer.
Yeah,
So that's
but
that's what he said to everybody.
yeah,
Communications.
right. Yeah, I figured he was just gonna. He's an explosive, not when you say explosive, you think like negative. I mean passionate. He's a passionate communicator. He's got big feelings. He's very
does.
smart. So I think he probably was just thinking like, she's gonna tell me because I'm gonna make her tell me because I'm gonna be the big badass. Not hurt her. He wasn't gonna beat it out of her, but intimidate her probably.
Okay. So then after that, we've also got, let's get back to Jack, and just wanted to get into that Saeed thing for just a second before we get into the next couple episodes. Coming back to Jack and Kate and Saeed, and really the group splintering. Saeed's kind of going to different people on the beach and asking them, are you planning on staying or going? And then whoever says that they're going to stay, he says good. biasing the decision some, I think.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it comes time to go, and Jack asks Kate, and she decides that she's going to stay on the beach.
She's not going.
So you're in this situation. Are you a beach person or a cave person?
I'm a cave person. On the condition that we set up where we've got not Locke, but other people out on the beach at some point. Somebody's always out there.
Why do you say not Locke?
That son bitch ain't. He didn't want to leave the island. He's God. He's not leaving.
Well, that is quite astute. So that is, 100% the case.
Yeah, not Locke. Locke is not leaving. He loves it here. He can walk. He's a sage. He's badass. He's not leaving.
Yeah, and it's what would be his possible motivation? What would he be going back to? Like
nothing. Not Helen. Nothing.
Yeah, not Helen for sure.
His stinky, sad bachelor apartment, and probably his legs not working. I don't know.
Yeah. So you're a cave person.
Yeah.
But with the caveat that somebody has to stay on the beach.
Yeah, and they'll do shifts,
Yeah, I'm with Jack on the talk when Saeed brings it up, and Jack's like, okay, so how long do you think we're going to last sitting on the beach? Because we're roasting to death, right? And we don't have food out here.
Yeah.
There's fresh water here.
They're walking. The boar and shit, they're, out there.
And they're walking miles. And don't forget, there's a pregnant woman in this group.
Yeah, and she about died. She didn't have water, passed out.
Yeah. So, I think I would be a cave person as well.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that is trying to actually survive, live, they're going to the cave.
So, last question before we get into predictions. I was going to ask you about that Willie Nelson song that played at the end when Hurley was listening to the CD player. You said you'd never heard it before.
Yeah.
I think it's Are You Sure? Are you sure this is where you want to be?
Yes.
Lost is great at picking. That's really the only point I'm making here. Lost is fantastic at picking songs.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because it's looking at Kate's forlorn but steady face as she's, looking out onto the ocean on the beach. And then Jack is all sad sacky, looking back at her, but heading back to the cave. And that's what I thought. Are you sure this is what you want to do?
So who are the key players in each camp? So who's in the cave at this point? Who's on the beach?
Saeed and Kate are on the beach. Jen is on the beach, and so Sun will be on the beach.
No.
They didn't stay on the beach?
No, they're in the cave.
Oh.
They're one of the first people to walk into the cave because Jen is immediately trying to stake out territory for him and Sun to be separate from everybody else.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, they're in the cave.
Jack is in the cave. Locke is in the cave.
Hurley?
You know what? I don't know. Where is he?
Cave.
He went to the cave?
Yeah.
That's my boy.
I think he said, I'm where the water is, dude.
Yeah.
And Hurley also, do you think it's funny that Hurley didn't seem that bothered by the circumstances most of the time? He's...
No, I don't think it's weird. I think he just kind of is, he has accepted that he has absolutely no control over what is happening.
Locke's my favorite character in the show, but Hurley is a character whose temperament I envy. Man, would I ever love.
Yeah, he's taking it as it comes. He understands he has no control over literally anything that's going on.
Yeah.
So he is just banging it out.
Yeah, when Jack got hateful with him, he didn't get hateful back. He's playing in the waves with Charlie, laughing about
they were trying to get the fish. Yeah. Laughing when Jen was trying to give him the sea urchin or whatever, and he's like, I'm literally starving, but I'm not going to eat that. No. I like Hurley.
Where's Sawyer?
I don't know. Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sawyer's on the beach.
Yeah, I think that everybody obviously is misunderstood everybody in this show is misunderstood.
Yep.
And they've not yet come to understand each other. Like, everybody has the trope of, like, I'm not what everybody thinks I am. I'm not whatever, But they eventually, hopefully, will learn that
if they want to, they're going to have to live together if they don't want to die alone.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but I feel super extra very sad about Sawyer. Because he's not, everybody thinks he's some stupid redneck that is just literally out causing trouble and stealing and being a dickhead bad guy. And he's not. He's just looking out for himself and trying to have a good time in the meantime.
Well, we'll see. So let's go ahead and get your predictions. So predictions for the next episode. So the next episode is entitled The Moth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just give you a hint that this episode is about... Any guesses whose backstory this is?
Well, it's going to be something about a moth to a flame. So...
Very good.
I'm going to say Charlie.
Yep. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it about? What's the...
Maybe we'll get to meet the rest of Drive Shaft. I don't know.
All right. I'm going to give you a... I'll give you a 42 on that one.
Damn.
So, yep.
I think that might be my highest score. Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So far, you have gotten scores of 23, 15...
I got an 8.
4, 8, and 42.
Okay. Get with it.
I think
yeah.
it's 16, too.
Yeah. Moth to a flame. It's going to be, we're probably going to find out why the hell the rest of Drive Shaft was not on the plane. I'm guessing that Charlie got kicked out of the band.
Okay. That's a 42 out of 50. And then... What the hell is going on? Or what the fuck is going on? So what is going on this island? Any bigger idea yet?
No.
Okay. I mean, they found 2 skeletons in the cave.
I would not say those were skeletons.
What would you say they were?
Mummies. Those are mummies. But, there are bog mummies. Wet conditions can make a mummy. It's not all just being dry.
Sure.
So... makes sense if the conditions were right that there were mummies, but everybody's all tripped out about it. These mummies. So now remind me, am I wrong? Jack finds plane debris over where the water is in the cave. And that's where he found his dad's coffin. But Adam and Eve, the mummies, were like way old. Was it their plane that they were looking at the debris of?
Mm-mm. No.
So we don't know how they got there.
Correct.
Did they have, they had clothing on still and stuff. That's how they could tell they were from 50 years ago or whatever.
They said it was longer than that. They estimated that it would be like hundreds of years, something like that.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, he said very, very old.
Okay, well, the bog people weren't wet.
50 years old isn't very, very old. Is, yeah. So Jack thinks they're super duper old.
Okay, he's a doctor, but is he a freaking archaeologist? How does he know?
I mean, he's probably seen a fair amount of human bodies, so.
Hundreds and hundreds of year old mummies? Bodies?
Maybe in med school.
No, those cadavers are fresh.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that they seem to think that they're super duper old, so.
Okay, based on what, though?
Yeah, I mean...
Just...
clothing. They were wearing clothes.
Yeah.
So they weren't wearing bell bottoms, Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to move to our last segment, our favorite segment, Messages in a Bottle.
Yeah.
All right, so this time for Messages in a Bottle, we got another email from Selvi, and very, very much appreciate you continuing to reach out. So his email reads, really enjoyed the Walkabout episode, particularly the more philosophical aspects you talked about. And I've always felt the reveal of Locke's wheelchair was a key moment given how his character plays out with his relationship with the island. Aside, the dynamic you two have in this works so well. Joe, your skills in giving Morgan additional background info and context but not giving away one single spoiler are pretty impressive. Morgan, your approach is brilliant. Straightforward first principles, logical deduction. Nicely done. All the best, Selby.
Thank you, Selby.
Hey, very nice. I'm happy that the dynamic seems to work well since we're married, and man, would this ever be awkward if there were 121 episodes.
And people were like, man, you guys don't seem like you like each other very much.
Just imagine in the comment section of people going like, we give them, 6 months till the divorce or whatever. I actually, funny, it's just a personal story. I won't say who, just in case this person, I'm still friends with this person, but in case this person ever listens. When we started dating, I had this friend of mine who told me that he gave it a year. He's a funny guy, but he did say that. He said, I give it a year. We haven't been dating very long, so I just laughed it off,
We're working on year 8.
Yeah, working on year 8, so
going strong, baby.
I hope he didn't bet any money on that.
If he did, he owes us.
Yeah, Locke's wheelchair reveal, I mean, I think it's the moment when you definitively know something is definitely going on this island.
Yeah, because we know there's a turbine dinosaur monster or whatever, but it could be anything.
Right. It could be, as we said, could be a bulldozer just knocking trees over.
Yep. But a man suddenly having the ability to walk, freaking Lazarus around there.
It's like the show goes from just a drama with, some intrigue and kind of thriller aspects to now it's sci-fi. Mm-hmm. Kind of. I mean, because somebody can, or fantasy, I guess would be a better way to describe it, because he can't walk and then he can because of a plane crash.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. So thanks again, Selby. Please continue listening. Please continue writing in. And if anybody else has any other questions, don't forget to write us at losttogetherpodcast@gmail.com.
We love to hear from you.